What is up, everybody, and welcome to the All-NBA Show powered by FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet at FanDuel.com/All-NBA. I'm your host, Adam Mares. I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Tim Legler. Legs, it was a physical night in the NBA last night. How you doing?
I'm great, man. I guess that's the way you put it. I mean, it was a physical game. It clearly, teams wanted it last night, right? You know the importance of that second game, no matter how the first one went. Like, that second one is so important. If you have home court and you won the first game, you don't want to give that back before you go on the road, right? And have that thing be even. It's a totally different momentum shifter. If you lost the first game, you're like desperate to get that second one. And I think you saw that in the games that were played last night. Didn't see as much of the Cavs game because I had to focus on the other two. And I think you're right, man. There was a lot of bodies on the floor last night between the Celtics Magic game and the Rockets Warriors. A lot of bodies on the floor. And unfortunately for Golden State, one of those bodies didn't get up right away, which could be a problem going forward.
We're definitely going to talk about that in segment one. We're also going to, in segment two, talk about that Celtics Magic matchup as well as Cavs Heat. And at the end of the show, we'll preview tonight's games because tonight's another really good one. But we're going to start with some layup lines. We haven't done layup lines for a while, Legs. Let's get loose with some layup lines. Jalen Brunson wins Clutch Player of the Year. He scored 426 points, I believe, in the clutch this year. Is that right? Or no, he had 426 points in the voting. So he received most of the first-place votes for Clutch Player of the Year. Nikola Jokic came in second, Anthony Edwards third. We talked about this award and how it's a little bit weird. This is one of those ones where I don't know how you can get upset or too excited about it because it's so weird. But what do you think of Jalen Brunson winning it?
I mean, I'm okay with it. You know, he was in my top three. I voted for him second. Anthony Edwards third. I voted for Jokic first. I don't know that there could be a player more important, not just to the Nuggets currently in the NBA, but maybe any team I've ever watched than Nikola Jokic is in the last 5 minutes of games because of everything that he has to do. And it's not, I guess a lot of people concentrate on is, the scoring in that time, right? Within 5 points, 5 minutes to go, Jalen Brunson scored a ton of points. So I guess he must be the best clutch player. There's a lot more that goes into it for me. Decision-making, playmaking, rebounding, which is a big part of winning games in the last 5 minutes, right? So that's part of it too. But I don't think that's the way people view it. They just see Jalen Brunson. He does make a lot of big shots. All those guys on the list do. I don't have a problem with Brunson winning it. It's showing me right now, and it's the same thing with the sixth man, which we're going to talk about too, with Payton Pritchard. Just go look at the Vegas odds. You want to know who's going to win it? Go look at the Vegas odds. They get it right every time. So it's I don't know what they're basing it on. Are they talking to anybody out there? Is there a vibe about it? Because they seem to nail him every single time. Brunson was the favorite, and he won it. My pick was Jokic, but it's not like I'm going to get upset about Jalen Brunson winning it. Clearly, he is very, very good in that period of time in the game.
It is funny because this award is really the clutch shot making. Like, who makes the toughest shots in the clutch is really what it comes down to. It is nice, though. Jokic only 2 points in the fourth quarter of game two and a couple turnovers. So it might have been a little awkward to win it following that performance. But the sixth man of the year award, as you just referenced, went to Payton Pritchard. He had 82 of the first place votes. So this was a pretty dominant win. Malik Beasley, I believe was Malik Beasley your pick? I think he was. He was second place with 13 votes.
Was. And listen, I love Payton Pritchard, man. And people got to understand, because you pick somebody else or make a case for someone else, you're certainly not in any way denigrating another guy. I'm not saying anything negative about Payton Pritchard. I'm just saying, do you really believe in your heart that Payton Pritchard is more important to the Boston Celtics winning games than Malik Beasley is to the Pistons? I don't know where the Pistons would be without Malik Beasley. Cade Cunningham took a big step forward this year. He's become a legitimate star player. If you take Malik Beasley out of the equation for what he did for the Pistons this year, I bet you they win 12 fewer games.
Yeah.
What happens if you win 12 fewer games? You're sub 500 team, and you're probably playing and you get bounced. Instead, they're 1-1 with the New York Knicks heading in because of where they were positioned, right? I mean, Malik Beasley, to me, you can survive nights if Payton Pritchard's not involved. I've seen it many, many times in the Celtics. It's hard for the Pistons to win if Malik Beasley is not heavily involved in making shots, because they just don't have a lot of that on their roster. So that's kind of what I went with in determining that, picturing where these two teams would be without those guys on a given night. Pritchard had a great year. I'm happy for him. He got paid, and man, did he live up to it. And he's a impactful player for them. But I picture the Pistons without the shooting of Malik Beasley. I be under 500. I'm certain of that.
Well, Legs, your mic there might be just a little bit loose, but we'll use it to transition now into last night's games, which is what we really want to talk about. And that was, we're going to start with the Houston Rockets beating the Golden State Warriors 109-94. And we're going to talk about the injury to Jimmy Butler that happened in the first quarter, a pelvis contusion, another pelvis contusion for the Warriors. So they're kind of cursed with that this year. Everybody put a pad on your backside if you're on the Golden State Warriors. But Jalen Green, 38 points. This is where I want to start. 38 points, 8 3-pointers, 8 of 18, and he also had 6 assists. We were hard on him in the last game. We didn't like his decision-making. We thought he pressed the envelope a little bit. This was a course correction in this game because I thought he played phenomenal. Even good defense on Steph Curry. Had a couple big-time plays, including an early steal that I thought set the tone. But was it a great bounce-back performance from him, or did he make threes tonight? How do you evaluate his game?
I think it's probably, for me, second in terms of most important performance we've had in the postseason. I would probably put Kawhi Leonard's performance against Denver first, because I think that series, every game is going to be a one possession game, I believe, in the fourth quarter. I don't see those teams running away from each other. So what Kawhi Leonard did in that game to get that win, already down 1-0, you lose a tough one in overtime. I mean, if Kawhi Leonard is even just average in game 2, they're down 2-0 right now to Denver. And you know, it's tough to come back from that against a team that good. So I'd put that one. I'd put this 2, because for Houston, same thing. If you lose and you go down 0-2 and now you got to go on the road, now right, the Jimmy Butler thing might change a little bit of that equation, but still, are you really coming back from that? Down 0-2, going on the road, you got to play 3 more times potentially in Golden State? I don't think so. So that's why I think what he did last night was critical to the Rockets having a chance to win the series. And I give him credit, man. Pat him on the back. He had a very good year. I know he can be frustrating at times for a lot of people, probably particularly Rockets fans. He's very explosive, though, very talented, and overall had a very good year. There's no other way to put it. He was not good in game 1. He looked a little overwhelmed by everything that was going on, the pressure of playing in the postseason, who they were playing against. He didn't hit shots early in the game, and he pressed the entire game, and he had a brutal night. And they lose a very hard-fought, tight game that he doesn't really contribute in at all. That's not easy to turn right back around and then to have the kind of performance you did in game 2 with so much on the line. So this was Jalen Green at his very best that we saw in the regular season. And it is very hard for young players to do that. Yet he did it, man. He was the story of the game other than the Butler injury. He's the story of the game. And like I said, I think maybe the second most impactful performance I've seen in the playoffs to this point.
It really was huge. He's the guy that he almost reminds me of Michael Porter in this one way. His jumper is so perfect and so balanced that I just think it's going, when he gets a clean look, when it's like a decent shot, I always feel like it's going in because he has such incredible balance. And then he mixes that with this like Zach LaVine level first burst, you know, his quick first step, and then his explosion. So it was a really impressive one from him to get 38 points and to carry him on this, and that 3-point shooting. Obviously, this is a series where the losing team has scored. Well, actually, last game, the Warriors scored 95 in one. So this is a game where if you get over 100, you're going to have a great chance of winning. 8 of 18 from 3 is huge. But the guy who's dominating this series for the Rockets, even through the last game, who we didn't talk about and people got really mad, was Alperen Sengun, 17, 16, and 7 last night. The Warriors are small. We know this. They're compromised a little bit at height. They make up for it other ways. So you have to have somebody bully. He bullied in game 1, but he was the only one. He did it again in this game. And his physicality and his ability to score, even on Draymond, to me, is something that if you're a Warriors fan, you take note of like, hey, even in the game we won, Sengun had his way inside.
He did. They don't have an answer for him. You know, even the physicality of Draymond Green, and he's going to be potentially going to be the defensive player of the year. Yeah. And he gets into him and he bangs him. He does all the stuff that, you know, you want, but it's at the end of the day, he's just a lot smaller. And the thing about Sengun, like you're not going to hit him so much and get physical with him to the point where he's just going to play the game you want him to play, which is more perimeter based, speed things up a little bit, get rid of the ball because he's pressured. He's just going to keep playing at his speed. He's going to back you down. And then he's got a ton of skill, footwork, touch, and passing. He's got all of that stuff at the end of it. So there's not really any particular matchup. And so for Golden State to have enough of an effect on him to win the series, they've got to continue to mix their coverages and how they hit him and try to confuse him a little bit. But through 2 games, you're right. I mean, Sengun has been every bit as good as he was in the regular season. And he's a guy that I think when the all-league teams are announced, he's got a shot at making 3rd team. I think he's got a really good shot, which is interesting because they're 2nd seed, and we're wondering, is anybody going to make an all-league team? It'll be him, if anybody. And I think he's shown you in these first 2 games why. He's such a steadying presence, and he is the one guy I think the Warriors probably feel like we can't affect all that much. I think the other guys, they feel like they're young, they'll play too fast. There's certain things you can do to make them make mistakes. Sengun's not going to make those mistakes. He's steady. I think he's going to continue to do this throughout the series. The question is going to just remain, I think game by game, who steps up for which team. But I think Sengun's stat line, I'm pretty confident I can pencil that thing in somewhere around 20 points, somewhere around 12 to 15 rebounds, and somewhere around 5 to 7 assists for the most part with efficiency. That's what he's going to do every game.
Yeah. What I love is what a team, especially in the playoffs, they have an identity that they've cultivated that usually mirrors their leaders. In this case, Ime Udoka. He's a tough guy. He wants physicality. He's been talking about it all year long. This is his personality. This team embodies it. And if there were a couple players I would point out that really embodied it, it's Dillon Brooks and Amen Thompson. You could even go down to Tari Eason, Steven Adams. I mean, they got a lot of guys, but those 2, Dillon Brooks and Amen Thompson, are making this series ridiculously physical. Then you pair that obviously with Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green. But those 2 guys brought the physicality. Jalen Green even brought it. And I know that's the big storyline today, right now is it too physical? Are the officials allowing too much? Guys are getting hurt. It's this or that. Those guys are going to test the limit because the way they are just grabbing Steph, hitting him on every cut, just getting physical with him, it's clear they went into there saying, we're not winning this unless we do it. And they executed it in both games, but last night it led them to the victory.
Yeah, it did. And I mean, Steph was, you got to give the guy credit, man, because nobody gets held more off the ball than Steph Curry in the league. And you're talking about guys that are always bigger, they're always stronger, they're longer, they're more athletic. And he's just constantly held prior to making his cuts and runs. No one else in the league gets held to the extent that he does. And it's a reason for it. Obviously, his motion and movement and shooting range create a lot of problems for you. So you're trying to slow him up, impede his ability to get space. I think they need to clean some of that stuff up earlier in the game with him. I don't think necessarily Steph Curry has gotten treated the way that he should based on who he is and the profile that he has and how really an unfair advantage it is to hold him to that extent off the ball. So I think it does start early in the games. This series, I don't know that I've watched a game all year that had more bodies on the ground than this game. It was just nonstop. It felt like every trip. They were alluding to it on the broadcast. How do these guys even appreciate this game when it's every trip? Somebody's falling. Some of it's flopping. Some of it's over-exaggerated. Not all of it. But yeah, man, look, it's physical. It's what the Houston Rockets are. That's what their identity is. You caught Ime Udoka in a huddle last night saying to his team, hey, man, they're not calling anything good. Play through it. Don't let it affect you. The less they call, the better for the Rockets. And I think that's kind of the tone that game took on. Now, having said all that, I will say this about them. You could see it, Adam, if you just went back and watched the first 6 minutes of the game. That's about as ready as you will ever see a team to play defensively in this league. They were so up on their toes, all space taken away, every cutter bumped or held, hard hedges shows, blitzes on ball screens, physicality on the glass. I mean, that they were desperate. And I would love to know what Ime Udoka had to say to them between the end of game 1 and the tip of game 2, because they had a look in their eyes, man, of hunger. Like they were willing to do whatever it took to win this game and get themselves even, and they did it.
And at the same time, like the Warriors scored 95 last game, 94 this one. So I thought they were physical in game one, but you were right that they were more desperate in game two, which is what you were talking about at the open of the show. The team that loses game one, especially if it happens at their home court, there's an energy they bring to game two that you just can't fake. That it's a desperate energy, and they brought it. And I have to give a shout out, or even maybe a walk back an earlier take. If you remember, Legs, maybe 3 months ago, we talked about Jabari Smith. And I said, he could be a little soft. This is my concern with him. He has really played tough since coming back from his injury. And I thought he only had 5 points, 5 rebounds, 24 minutes. Not a huge stat line, but I actually was very impressed with his ability to fit into this game, because this was a very physical game. So I talked about him being soft months back. I take that one back, because I think he has been very good at matching the physicality and not being bothered by it since then.
Good call. And I think Tari Eason would also get a shout out, because I think he's also in the mix of everything. He's been another guy that's impressed me with his physicality. Like, this is going to be, I think the two most entertaining series are the ones I referenced, man. Clippers, Nuggets. I think that's going to be every game. It's going to be tight. Could go 7. And this series, because of, you can tell, and it started to get a little bit last night verbally. And if Draymond Green, Dylan Brooks are on the floor, there's a good chance that's going to happen. And it's
going to go up from here.
Yeah, but it's other guys. Yeah, totally. Each game. They got there in game one, like a taste of it. Game two was flat out. There was a lot of sauce in there. Yeah. Who knows what 3, 4, 5, 6 are going to be in this series? But it was a lot of fun. Unfortunately, though, the biggest question mark now is what's going to happen with Jimmy Butler.
Yeah,
man,
let's go there.
That's a brutal play. And look, let's talk about the play first of all, because there are people out there that they use words like reckless and stuff like this. And Amen Thompson, just watch it over and over. Watch it 5 to 10 times in a row. If you can't see that Amen Thompson's legs got taken out from under him as he was trying to run and it wasn't a game I tripped him. It was totally inadvertent, but he's starting to run in for the offensive glass, and he's right between two other bodies, and their legs are all tangled up, and he just fell forward. He lunged forward. Anybody that thinks Amen Thompson was trying to take Jimmy Butler out of the air, you really don't understand at all. Not only basketball, just like biomechanics of a human body.
Right.
And here's the other reason, Adam. Don't take my word for it in watching the play. Because if you're a Warriors fan, you clearly think that was, Bill Laimbeer like what he did to him. Look at the Warriors bench. It's right in front of them. None of those guys stand up. Not one. If you're in a playoff game, okay, and you're one of your star players gets taken out of the air, and you think that someone did that intentionally, all of those guys are jumping up. Now, in the old days, when I played my era, you just ran onto the court. Right? And just
no matter what.
I know you can't do that anymore, but you still get up, you jump up, and you scream, and you point, and you do all that. Watch their bench. Nobody got up, because you could tell by the play, by what happened. Amen Thompson tripped and fell. He happened to get underneath Jimmy Butler's legs. And unfortunately for Jimmy Butler, he had no ability to brace himself whatsoever. Full body weight right there on his tailbone in that area of his body. And now it's very similar to what Steph went through recently. And he missed 7 games, something like that. And this was a much harder fall. So now we sit and we wait and see what the status of Jimmy Butler is going forward.
And let's be honest here, Legs. This is the thing about it. This happens in the first quarter. We can talk about, and I truly believe, I'm not trying to take anything away from the Houston Rockets, because I thought they met the moment. I think they were ready for the moment. But the Golden State Warriors are a different team without Jimmy Butler. And they're just short a guy. They're short options. It's easier to do what they did to Steph, get physical, chase him around, overextend. It's easier when there's one less release valve there. And then on the other end of the court, there's one less dog to kind of make life hell. So I look at this one and I go, who knows? He's day-to-day, getting an MRI today. We're filming this in the morning, so we don't know what his status will be. That's a serious changer, in my opinion, because I think the margins in this one are already razor thin. But if you tell me Jimmy Butler has to miss a couple games, completely tilts in the Rockets' favor, because I think the Warriors are that limited in their depth.
No, they definitely are. And before I answer that and go further with this, I want to make somewhere down, then you have to respond to a comment. So Valorez, it's a 50-50 split on opinion. So I'm arrogant because I'm saying that you can't see it differently. I'm sorry. It's not arrogance and it's not 50-50. It's 100% obvious. And the only way that you think that's intentional is if you're a Warriors fan. End of story. People that don't have and are impartial, if you've got two eyes, you can see he was inadvertently tripped into him. That's it. I'm not talking about it anymore. It's obvious. This isn't, and I got no dog in the fight. I sleep like a baby no matter who wins these games. I don't care. Okay. I don't care. It's obvious he was knocked off balance and fell into him accidentally. It's incredibly unfortunate, but that's not an arrogant opinion, man. That's just having common sense and two eyes. So that's enough of that.
Yeah.
Now,
but the Jimmy Butler piece here, without Jimmy Butler,
first of all, just think about the emotional letdown that you're going to feel now as a team, because you know what you're taken back to, and who knows? Like, again, who knows what they're going to say? Let's just say, hypothetically, he were to miss the rest of this series. The emotional letdown, because it takes you right back to a place that you were prior to his arrival, when you were like a good team, but you were a play-in team, and that's what your fate was going to be, and you were going to have to fight your way out of that and then play one of these top seeds in the first round of the playoffs and have a very difficult time. It takes you right back there where everything was a struggle for them. He made things a lot easier, and it's weird because even on nights he didn't produce a lot, it was obvious they were significantly better because the ball moved to the right place. His ability to drag attention to his side of the court, what that did to free up things for Curry, the confidence and swagger they ran out of the tunnel with, you're right back in that place again. So depth, you're right, Adam, but it's also, I think, for me, an emotional wall that they're going to have to be able to break through, and I think that's going to be very tough to do, especially when you have to revisit minutes for Kuminga, who they clearly sent a message to they didn't think was the right guy for their rotation.
But then needed him last night. Yeah, then needed him, which is always tough.
Exactly. And guess what? If Jimmy Butler's out, you're right back to playing Kuminga 25 plus minutes a game. And I don't think they want to do that. So that's not a great place for him to be mentally. It's going to be very difficult for them to win this series if Jimmy Butler is not a part of it for the next several games. And I don't know. Look, I don't know what the result's going to be, this MRI, whatever they say, but man, that looked bad. The way he walked to the locker room, if you're that ginger on it that quickly, that to me is a problem. And I'm worried about Jimmy Butler's availability going forward.
Well, so is Steve Kerr. He had a 12-man rotation last night in the playoffs. And that just shows you where his trust is outside of that very tight circle of trust he has, 7 or 8 guys. When he has to go beyond that, you got great minutes, by the way, from Pat Spencer. He comes in and knocks down a couple threes, including a bank. But to your point, Jonathan Kuminga, 12 shots, 11 points. Comes in, misses a layup like right off the bat. I think the Warriors are in a tight spot here, depending on how, and even if Jimmy's good to go, I mean, you saw that fall. Let's say he's not injured, he's just hurt. That's a sensitive spot to be hurt on in a series that is as physical as it is. Even if it's, hey, you can go, you just have a bruise. That's one that's like when guys, they get a broken nose, they have to wear the mask. It's like, yeah, but that's still going to affect you because now every little hit you're going to feel. And that's just how I feel about Jimmy Butler. No matter what, he's a tough guy, but no matter what, this is going to be limiting for some period of time.
Definitely. And remember when Curry came back, it was either the first game or the second game he came back.
That's right.
He had a play where he drove to the basket, got knocked down, landed on his backside, and then rolled over and immediately started wincing again and laying there like pounding the floor. Like, I mean, look, Jimmy Butler, it's easy to, if you just say, okay, listen, man, just don't take any charges. Like, obviously you can't take any charges because you can't risk that, but it's not just that. It's everything. It's backing a guy into the post, man. It's someone sitting there and hitting you with their forearm in the back. Like, it's a tender area. That's assuming he even gets cleared to play. If he can even walk properly, much less jump, have the lift he needs in his mid-range, which is a big part of his game, like driving and getting to the line, up faking, and then having guys land on top of you as you're trying to draw fouls. Like, all of that stuff is tied together. Very difficult situation he finds himself in. Now, they were able to get the split there. So, you did what you had to do, which is the key. Get 1 out of 2 early on the road. That sets you up. You now have home court if you're the Warriors. Hold home court the rest of the way and you win the series. There's nothing Houston can do about that if they don't win a road game. let's see what Golden State looks like in game 3. So they have home court, but they don't potentially have Jimmy Butler. Certainly, I would be very surprised if he plays in the next game. But who knows? Like I said, everybody's different in how they react to these things and how they feel. And if nothing's fractured, he's got a much better chance. We'll find out more.
We'll find out more today. I like this series. I think if you hate Steph Curry, you probably hate basketball. So the Warriors are always fun to watch. And then I like this Rockets team. They're good villains. Sometimes you need the team. Like, they're not the prettiest style of play. They don't have the biggest names, but they play hard. They're tough, and they're just good villains. So I like this series. I think if Jimmy Butler is out in particular, I think this one is going pretty deep, and it'll be interesting to track. All right, let's take a break. On the other side, let's get into the other game. It's actually a very good game as the Celtics take down the Magic. We'll also talk a little Cavs Heat before previewing the games coming up tonight on the other side. First, FanDuel is giving all new customers a shot at $250 in bonus bets. Join FanDuel today. You'll get started with $250 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. From three-pointers to steals to assists, FanDuel has so many ways for you to bet your favorite player props. Plus, after the game tips, you can combine live prop bets into the same game parlays for a chance to win big. You just visit FanDuel.com/AllNBA to get in on the NBA playoffs. That's FanDuel.com/AllNBA for your shot at $250 in bonus bets. By the way, this series, just so you know, this series now on FanDuel has Golden State minus 178 to win, Houston Rockets plus 150. So that might be one to get in on, especially if you think Jimmy Butler is going to be out. Must be 21 or older and present in select states, or 18 and plus and present in D.C. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit fanduel.com/RG. Also want to tell you guys about Shady Rays. Get ready for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends over at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglass company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. I've got 5 different pairs of Shady Rays now. I just got the last 2 I ordered, 2 pairs of Navigators, 2 pairs of Aviators, and then I got one, I don't even know what you call them, like kind of like a Ray-Ban looking sunglass. They have all kinds of them and incredible prices. Every single style you want, so you can load up for your summer. You have all the different shades you'll need for whatever it is that you're trying to do. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use the code AC35 for 35% off of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. All right, back here on the All-NBA show. By the way, if you missed it, Mark Campbell did a great breakdown of Kawhi Leonard's footwork. This is really cool if you just love the game, love the details of the game. He talked about how Kawhi Leonard used some of his gathered dribbles to open up the hips of his defender and then go. It was really, really fascinating. But if you're a young hooper, a high school or college hooper, and you just like the details, that breakdown will be for you. So it's a video up on our channel. We'll have those going throughout the playoffs. It's really cool, and I think you'll enjoy it quite a bit. So make sure you're checking that out as well as this show. All right, Legs. The Celtics get the win 109-100, but it too was not without its casualties. Kristaps Porzingis had his unicorn snapped right off of his forehead last night. A nice little hit.
Good. I like
bleeding all over the court, had to come out for a little bit. But you know what? And then, of course, Jalen Brown, who went off in this game, was really, really, really good. 36 points, 10 rebounds, 5 assists. He also looked hobbled at certain points. He's obviously dealing with his knee injury. Jason Tatum was out. But here's what I love. Before we get into the X's and O's of this game, when Porzingis gets hit, I thought he handled it in a great way because he's bleeding. You kind of worry about it, this or that. And he talked after the game. He goes, "You guys know me. I wasn't going to miss the game because it's kind of nice. You have to go to the locker room, you get stitched up, you come back out, and the crowd cheers for you." He's like, "You know me, I like that." And I kind of love that moment of like, hey, man, it was kind of cool to get to play the tough guy for a chance, come out of the tunnel and have everybody like Willis Reed. I just thought that was a very human moment, but also like a cool moment for Porzingis. And you know what? He did. He came back out, played great, and it was a boost to the Celtics.
Yeah, it's not too often, honestly, you think about it. When guys fall in games and like they grab their face because they've been hit in the face or something, a lot of times it's face down, right? And so you don't see the blood right away.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden they'll get up to their knees and then the blood is like dripping on the court and you're like, okay, the guy's cut. Porzingis fell backwards and immediately the blood was like running off his head. It was like, wow. And so they get him up. He goes back to the locker room. Now you got to shoot the free throws to stay in the game. So in a situation like that, they're allowed to take their time and get him cleaned up. So he goes back in the locker room. They put this giant bandage right on his head just to stop the bleeding enough to shoot his free throws. The funny part was there were still two red, perfectly aligned streaks of blood running from the forehead to the back down his neck, right? They even commented on the air, like, what, they don't have any alcohol swabs to clean his hair up. So he shoots the free throws and it goes back and they deal with it. But yeah, I agree. It was the ovation he got. I mean, that had to feel pretty cool. Like, if you're Kristaps Porzingis, man, you get that kind of ovation, you leave the court, you come in, you shoot your free throws, and then, resume the game. Now, on to the game. Look, man, I've got a ton of respect for the Orlando Magic because I love how hard they play defensively. Yep. And I really enjoy watching Banchero and Wagner. I think they're two really talented guys. I've got a lot of respect for Jamal Mosley. And unfortunately, look, they're missing Jalen Suggs, and that definitely hurts them. But the truth is this. Their roster construction around those two players is not going to allow them to beat good teams. It's just not. You can't have that level of three-point shooting around those two players and think you're going to be able to win games against the Celtics. Now, the credit is their defense is so good, they're going to keep them within arm's reach. And they're going to be, and they did throughout the game, man. They'd get it to 6, and then it'd go to 12, 14, and then back to 6. Got it to 4 at one point. It was like 2-point game at halftime. But then it's 10 again, 12, because they go through these stretches where they don't make shots. And then the Celtics, of course, they're going to string some buckets together. So that's what it felt like to me. It was an inevitable outcome, even when they were within 5-6 points, because they don't have enough firepower around those two star players. They've made 17 threes in 2 games against the Celtics. Like, you're just not going to be able to compete with a team like that. The Cavs be the same thing. They shoot a ton of threes. They make a ton of threes. You can't keep up. So I'm more curious about what this team does going forward, because I think there's a lot of good things here that they're on the cusp of being really relevant in the Eastern Conference. But Adam, they just don't have enough offense. And it was obviously on display again in this game. There's just too much pressure on those two guys to have to get you 60 combined to have a real chance to win the game, because they don't know where else they're going to get scoring on a given night.
Can Paolo Banchero and Franz Wagner be better than they were last night? I mean, they were good, 32 and 25 points respectively, 7 assists and 4 assists. They just did it. They both shot 50% against a really good Boston defense. And I just walked away thinking from watching that game, that's about as good as I expect Orlando to be able to hang with Boston. Boston only had 12 threes themselves, and I give Orlando credit. They're very good at that. They contested them at the rim very well. They contested them at the three-point line very well. So I thought Magic's defensive game plan, they executed brilliantly, and their stars scored about as well as I expect them to score in the series, and it still wasn't enough without Jason Tatum, mind you. So I just look at it and I go, man, the Magic, I walked away impressed with the Magic, but also feeling like they're going to get swept.
And I don't want to feel that way, because I've got their game tomorrow night. Right now, you change venues, right? Yeah. You should get a tremendous adrenaline boost. And this was a competitive game. So now you go back to Orlando. But here's what I'm thinking, to what you just said. If you don't get the Boston Celtics on a night they don't have Jason Tatum, how do you think you're going to get them?
Right.
At all.
Right.
Period. Yeah. Now, they're doing things that they do well. Boston Celtics on average shoot 47 threes a game. They got 37 up. And that's what Orlando does better than any team in the league. They only allow 31 threes on average per night attempted. It's incredible, really, the number that they put up. And the reason is not because they're slowing the game down or anything like that. It's because their defense is that good. They've got length, they've got commitment, they've got toughness. And imagine how good they would be if they had Suggs, who's one of the best on-ball defenders in this league. And they're still able to hold Boston to 37 attempts. But when you yourself only make 7 threes in a game against Boston, or any team really in the playoffs, I don't know how you win the game. Banchero and Wagner did everything that they had to do. I thought Wendell Carter Jr. was very good in this game too. He was a physical presence inside. Like, their physicality amongst the size, those 3 guys with size, they're giving Boston's problems with those 3 guys. It's the guard play. You think about this, Adam. They don't have a single guard on the floor, like a smaller guy with quickness to break you down and go make a play. Beat somebody off ball screen, get in the paint, kick out, like draw. They don't have, so everything runs through these 6'10" guys. They're not going to blow by you. They're very good offensive players and they're good passers. Man, do you need a guard that can go make a play for you? Or somebody with some quickness downhill to collapse your defense? And they don't have it. And so they're going to give Boston a tough 4 games, maybe 5 if they can win one in Orlando. And probably they have to win game 3, honestly. 5 at the most. We agree on that. 5 at the most, probably a sweep.
Yeah.
The bigger question is, what do you do to address the shooting in the offseason? Listen, it's the exact same game plan that Detroit followed. They won 14 games last year and they had 1 star player, Cade Cunningham.
Yeah.
What'd they add?
Yeah, they added shooting.
Malik Beasley, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Tobias Harris.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Specifically, 3 guys that can just shoot that are also experienced players to bring some of that to your locker room. That's exactly what the Orlando Magic need to do this summer. Go get some vets that can shoot to create spacing for your team. Even if you think you sacrifice a little bit defensively, I think it's worth it in their case because they're never going to have enough firepower if they kind of just go status quo with this team.
The other thing I'll say about it, and to your point, this kind of goes hand in hand with the shooting, but it's really more about Boston. One of the things about Boston and what makes them so tough is they force you to only play certain types of players. Because we saw what Cole Anthony did in the play-in game. It was huge. He's not a great player, but he is a guy that if you're the Magic and you're this light on scoring, you need us to scoring wherever you can get it. But he's unplayable in this series because he can't guard the guys that Boston has out there. So in this game, he only plays, 5 minutes? And that feels right. It's like he's something they need offensively, but they can't afford him defensively. So as a result, you're playing Corey Joseph, my guy Anthony Black, and that's a credit to Boston. There's only certain types of players that can even be on the court against the Boston Celtics.
No, there's no doubt. And you're right. Go back to the play-in game. You remember the play-in game against Atlanta? And the 2 guys that won that game for them were Cole Anthony and Anthony Black.
Yeah.
Those 2 guys had 40 plus combined in that game. And I know Atlanta's not Boston. I understand that, but that's how important supplemental shooting and scoring is around their 2 stars. So in a game like this, like I said, you got a really good game out of Wendell Carter, 16 points, 8 boards in 33 minutes, 6 for 8. I thought he played strong and tough. He finished around the basket. You go beyond that. Think about this. Beyond Banchero, Wagner, Wendell Carter, look at the production. Nobody else double figures except Anthony Black, who played okay but didn't make a 3. They didn't have a single made 3 off their bench. Not one.
That's crazy.
Most teams in this league have bench guys that come in the game that maybe have some other limitations, but the one thing they can do is flat out shoot the ball.
Yep, you're right. Man, that's crazy. Only took 4.
Think about it. Every team's got at least a guy like that or 2 that get in, and the reason they're on the floor, whether that's a Buddy Hield, right, or an AJ Green, or an Isaiah Joe, and go around the league, they all have
Beasley,
one of those.
The 6-man candidate.
Yeah, you all have one of those. Right, Malik Beasley, Payton Pritchard, they all have one of those guys. They didn't hit a single 3 off their bench. That's tough, man. That's just tough. So I have respect for them. I'm curious to see what they do going forward, but I think we all know the inevitability of this series. Now, let's see what happens with Jason Tatum going forward. I mean, he was limited enough with that wrist. He couldn't play in game 2. I don't know how much more that's going to limit him this series. Is it a factor the rest of the playoffs for him? I had a wrist injury one time. I went in, at a practice facility, I ran into the wall and I braced myself and my wrist bent backwards, and it bothered me for a month. It affected me. So I don't know what's going to happen with Jason Tatum and his wrist going forward, but that was their best chance to make this interesting, to win the game without Tatum. And unfortunately, Orlando wasn't able to do it.
I think the 2 best teams clearly look like they are the Boston Celtics and the Oklahoma City Thunder. But to your point, Tatum and it's a wrist injury on his shooting hand. That's concerning. And Jalen Brown, who was phenomenal last night, 36, 10, and 5, hit the big shots when the game got a little bit close and he opened it up. And he was just good throughout the game. 5 of 7 from 3-point line. But he also is banged up with his knee injury. And I thought as the game wore on, he looked more and more worn down. And look, it's impressive that they were able to go last year with Porzingis sidelined for the entire Eastern Conference run. Now they have Tatum out. They looks like they can hold the door for a while. But if you start to lose Tatum and Brown, or just they have to play a little bit less than fully healthy, that's the only thing I see slowing down the Celtics at the moment. But it's a real concern.
No, and it definitely is. I mean, because it's really the one thing you're looking at. What's it going to take? It's going to take that. Some limitation in some way. I said going into the playoffs this year, they weren't winning it without full health. Because last year they didn't have Porzingis in the finals. But I've said it repeatedly. You look at their path was a little bit different than it's going to be this year. It's going to be a tougher path to get to a title. I think they need full strength. And right now they're not at full strength. They're going to survive this series fairly easily, probably without full strength. Get significantly tougher in the next round, most likely against the Indiana Pacers. And then obviously, I think down the road, you most likely are going to have the Cavaliers and then whoever you get out of the West. If that's their path, that's a tougher path than what they saw last year. And they're going to need everybody to be ready to go. And right now they're dealing with some stuff. Jalen Brown's not 100%, still at 36 points. Jason Tatum misses a game. Now, Derek White's been great, and Porzingis is a major difference maker for them. There's not a great matchup anybody has for Porzingis. And he does things defensively that really bother you around the rim. Yeah. So we'll see. But I think that's the one thing you're going to look at with the Celtics and say, man, if they're limited, maybe this year there are more teams capable of knocking them off than there was last year.
The last game that happened last night was the Cavs beating the Heat 121-112. And I know this was the kind of our third game here, so it's not totally on the radar. But I will say I was very impressed with the Miami Heat. They're not a good team. They're just not that talented of a team after the trade and just being depleted. But they always find a way to make things difficult. And Davion Mitchell has been sensational over this last run, getting to the rim and knocking down big threes. The Heat cut this to 2 points legs in the fourth quarter. And you're kind of sitting there going, how are the Cavs struggling with this? But Donovan Mitchell took the helm late. He was 7 of 10 from three, and he hit a couple of just crazy, like nothing you could do about it, 3-pointers. When they absolutely needed it most to put this game away. So where are your thoughts on this one? Are you impressed as I am with the Heat that they're just at least making Cleveland earn it?
Yeah, you talk about squeezing every drop of juice out of
your
team.
They're not good.
No, they're not. That's the Heat. And look, I'm also going to give big shout out to Tyler Hero because, he had a great regular season. They were a team that really nobody paid a lot of attention to, other than the drama surrounding Jimmy Butler. Like that was the one reason you paid attention to the Heat, because that got to a place of absurdity, what was going on with that. As far as their team went, you're kind of like, yeah, I kind of know like what all these guys are. And okay, Hero's having his best year. Is he really going to be able to do that kind of thing when it matters? Well, he did it, man. He did it down the stretch. He did it in the play-in. He did it again last night. So give Tyler Hero a lot of credit. Like his game has translated now to like any type of defender, any type of defense. Because clearly when you play the Heat, you got to be focusing on him twice as much as any other player on their team. And he still is able to drop 33 on them. Yeah. So I give Hero a lot of credit. He's a better offensive player at his best than I thought he was or was capable of. And so I give him a lot of credit for that. They fought as hard as they could. At the end of the day, the Cavs have too much talent, too much shot making. And we just talked about the Boston-Orlando game. We talked about how paltry Orlando's 3-point shooting was. To my point, the Cavaliers made 22 threes in this game. They had 6 off their bench. The Heat had 7 off their bench. There's 13 made threes off the bench in this game. Orlando didn't have any. That's my point. These teams have so much firepower, Boston and Cleveland. You better get to a certain number of made threes or you're not going to have a shot. And again, it proved to be a major difference in this game because Cleveland, at the end of the day, despite the run by the Heat, the Cavs were able to assume control when they needed to. And this, I feel like if the Cavs are dialed in for 48 minutes, this should be a sweep. It should be a sweep.
Yeah.
Can the Heat get game 3 and drag it out to 5 games? We'll see.
One thing that's interesting to me about this from the Heat's perspective, Andrew Wiggins came out with 3 minutes to go in the third quarter, did not come back in the game. They closed instead with Jovic, and he played well except for legs. They were down 5 with a couple minutes left, and Jovic gets a wide open 3 in the corner that could have made this very interesting, and he missed it pretty bad. And it just was an interesting decision from Spoelstra to go away from Wiggins there and to close the way he did. But, he knows his team. They closed the gap. They almost got it done. All right, let's talk about – go ahead.
Yeah, but I was just going to say, I think part of the reason is, look, this is an important game. It's a physical game. You need everybody to show up. Wiggins, 28 minutes gives you 1 rebound. 1 rebound.
Yeah.
6'8" athlete, 28 minutes, 1 board, 3 assists. 10 points. So I think that's why they decided to go in a different direction there. I have respect for the Heat. They're playing hard. They're basically giving you everything they have. To score 112 on the Cavaliers isn't easy.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Problem is Cavaliers got to their average, which is 120.
They can score pretty well. Let's go to tonight's game. So the first one we got is Knicks Pistons on TNT. This series have obviously been incredible. You talked about game 2, the team down is more desperate. That happened in game 2 where the Pistons even the score, but now this young Pistons team gets to come home and have a playoff game in Detroit for the first time in a while. This game to me is so exciting. Both of them tonight are incredible, but this one, what are you looking for?
I think to this point, this has to be considered the most must-watch game that we've had.
There's another one tonight, though. There's 2 of them tonight that are kind of must-watch.
That one's first.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So that's why I say that. That's why I say that. Now, as soon as that game ends, I'm going to say, now here comes the most must-watch game of the playoffs. But that one's first. And, I mean, because Detroit could easily be up 2-0 right now. They have all of the minutes combined in 2 games, of the 96 minutes played, just look at how that's broken down. Detroit has controlled the vast majority of those minutes. And so they got to feel really good about their chances. And the reason they feel good about it going home, one, it's going to be a banana scene, but it's also their star player looked sensational in game 2. So they got their top guy feeling good about himself, and their defense has made incredibly tough sledding for the Knicks. You don't have that meltdown in the fourth quarter in the last 8 minutes where that was inexperience combined with the Knicks just rising to the occasion. Yeah. For the most part, Detroit has bottled them up. So they feel their defense has done what they needed to do all season. They did it again, and their best player is playing well and feeling confident. Detroit now with their most important home playoff game in a very long time.
And now you want to see the 3-point shooting. You come home, your role players hopefully make their shots a little bit easier. And then Cade Cunningham, I can't tell you how impressed I was with him in game 2. He was unbelievable. Now he gets to come home. Let's see what he's got. The other game on TNT, by the way, Thunder versus Grizzlies, because you got 2 other games, 2 West Coast games today. Thunder, Grizzlies, Nuggets, Clippers. I hate that the NBA can't flex games in. I get in some reason why they can't. But Thunder Grizzlies, will go there first since it's the national television game. I mean, the only intrigue here is, can the Grizzlies keep it close as they go home? I mean, I don't know. They've been beaten pretty definitively in the first 2. But what are you interested in this game?
First quarter will tell you everything you need to know. I'm not sure that Memphis has the stomach for this fight, to be honest with you. I mean, this is a team now that's beaten them, 11 straight times? 11 straight. And when Oklahoma City really turns up the heat defensively, I'm not sure Memphis has what it takes. Now you go home, that's a city, that fan base loves their team. They're going to pack it. It's going to be a great environment. I just called a game there in the last playoff spot up for grabs against Dallas, and they were so good in that game. Dallas is not OKC. This is different. I think OKC is very much on a mission to show how laser focused they can be, and I don't think there'll be any let up. I think this series will be a sweep.
I'm just asking a question just to give some intrigue here. The Thunder have been dominant all year. I think there are 7 good playoff teams in the Western Conference, and one that probably is not. Just with where Memphis is right now, I don't know that they're a great team. Is there any chance a sweep over Memphis, as easy as it is going to unprepare OKC for what's coming in the second round? Should it be Denver or the Clippers? OKC should feel confident, but if you go from these easy blowout wins to a more competent team, could that be difficult at all? They haven't had a real game in a month and a half.
Yeah. Here's why I'm going to say no, Adam. It's 2 words: Mark Daignault.
Okay.
If you spend time with him, which I've gotten to a lot this year, the way he comes across is so impressive with his grasp of this team and the pulse of this team. I don't think that he would allow it. Their film work, on court work, and his messaging would be so on point. I don't think that would be a problem. And if anything, what they might get, which going into game one, we asked them, what's the deal here? You haven't played a game in a meaningful 12 days at that point. They hadn't played a game that mattered since April 8th to them. And these guys were just sitting around. And he said, yeah, I'd much rather have that. And I saw why when that game started. They were up 57 in the third quarter of that game. So my point is, if they get a sweep and they get to sit around for another week and Denver and the Clippers beat each other's brains out for 7 games, how tired they're going to be, and turn around and play in 48 hours against that team sitting there waiting on you, it'll set the tone all over again for that series. So I'm not worried about it. They just don't – they realized last year what happened. Man, they were a 1 seed. They got beat in the second round. They came far from their goal. They're a different team this year, and there's a poise and a maturity about them. And I don't think that Mark Daigneault will allow that to happen. So I'm not too worried about any sort of complacency if this is easy for them in this round.
The last game, and arguably the next best game of the playoffs, as you mentioned, Nuggets at Clippers. The series 1-1 shifts over to Intuit Dome now. This one should be phenomenal as well. What are you looking for? I'm looking for
what I think Denver's got to probably do something different on Kawhi, and I want to see what they come up with against him. I think that's the key. He might never have another 15 for 19 game in this series, and as good as he was, I compared it to a Jordan performance. That's how good I thought he was in that game, because it was all done on his own with mostly mid-range shooting. He's not, but we all know the guy is he's almost like a robot. When he gets into these rhythms, you've got to do something different to disrupt that. Expect another close game, and I want to see what Denver has in mind for something different with Kawhi Leonard, whether they try to keep specific guys on him more often. Do you hit him a little bit more randomly with blitzes? Is there a little zone mixed in there? Like, I want to see what is different in store on the part of the Denver Nuggets for Kawhi Leonard. That to me is going to be the essence of game 3.
Let me ask you this, and I'm not trying to lead you on it, because I want your honest opinion. Kawhi Leonard went off. He had an unbelievable game. They only scored 105 points. Is there any chance that it's like, hey, that's our game plan? Kawhi is going to get us, but we can't overreact to allow threes and everything else to happen.
Man, I mean, I think that'd be perilous, because you're not, there are some guys I would think that way about, because, hey, maybe they shoot 45 from the field or something and they get to their number. Kawhi Leonard, if you play him that way, I just feel like he's so comfortable in his matchups in this series and his getting to his spots for his shot that he loves. You could have another game where he shoots 65, 70%, and he's controlling the game to such an extent that regardless of the number they're getting to, their defense is good enough, by the way, that I don't see Denver putting up 120 on them. I think these games are going to be played in that 100 to 108
Agreed.
range. Like, that's where I think all of these games are going to reside. So no, I don't know if it's hard for a coach to sit there and watch a guy beat you over and over and without the temptation, okay, man, we got to get the ball out of his hand. Like, it's just hard, even if other guys aren't scoring. And I think that's what Kawhi would make you feel like. It's like just getting beat up possession after possession. Nothing different in the results, despite the fact that you're trying to let him be a scorer. Well, guess what? He's scoring like every trip. So we'll see, man. Nothing's touched it so far. And I guess Pistons Knicks would be next behind it. But man, this has been the marquee series of the first round, and it'll continue tonight. And I cannot wait to watch it.
I can't either, man. Tonight's is one of probably the best of the week in terms of the game slate. So tomorrow's show should be the best of the week in terms of the show slate. You can hit that outro music, James. We appreciate you guys hanging out with us as we break down these games in the playoffs. And don't forget to check out Mark Campbell's breakdown on Kawhi Leonard. It really is cool. I don't see anybody else doing that kind of stuff. He's a former NBA trainer, so he's approaching it as if he was approaching a player. This is what he would talk about. So it's really interesting. And we will be back tomorrow. What time are we at tomorrow, Legs? Do you know? What's our schedule?
11 a.m. Eastern.
What's time?
11 Eastern.
11 a.m. Eastern. There you go. I forgot.
Oh,
okay,
man.
Good.
Perfect. I'll get home at about 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. I'll be up and ready to go for the show right at sunrise. We'll do it. Everybody, hit that like button on the way out. Make sure you're subscribed. We'll see you tomorrow.
silly like the mayor.